chi i'r ran nesaf o'r noswaith gwbl ffantastig sy'n o'n blaen ni heno. Dyma'r rhan holi ag ateb, the question and answer session. We are here with some of the the actors and Sarah, the writer, the director and the producer. Sarah, if we start with you as well, you wrote the film, you directed it, as I said, and you produced the film. How did this all come about? Because you are English as well, aren't you? So where did all this start, writing the Welsh film?
Yes, I am English. I'm resident in Wales. I live in the valleys near Merthyr. And I started writing this script 2018, I think, is the first draft. I read the Mabinogion when I was in my early 20s. I used to be, and still am, kind of obsessed with King Arthur, Robin Hood, all those medieval romance stories. I started this script. I was doing the BAFTA crew for a couple of years, so I was looking for people to produce with me. I just made a film with Chris Packham narrating. It was a film about marine conservation, and I was ready to get my teeth into another drama, kind of passion project. So I put out a message on Facebook. Quite a lot of things start through Facebook. And I asked for producers, and I met Rachel Hopkins here, my co-producer, and another associate producer who introduced me to Boyd, Rhys, Kirsten, and our executive producer, Rosso Hennessy. It began as a 15-minute film. Ross had quite a lot to do with helping us shape the script, mostly just through suggesting how do we incorporate the Welsh language? Do we shoot a film entirely in Welsh and then another one in English? We decided to have an English narrator and the characters speak Welsh. And then I refined it further by selecting that just the fairy characters speak Welsh. So the Welsh language then became kind of a bit like Elvish. So it was a magical language spoken by a fairy elite. So we started fundraising, and it was around the summer of 2021 that we were gifted a massive amount of money, £5,000 from Penderyn, which was fantastic. At that moment, we were thinking about doing a 15-minute film, which we were looking at a budget of 50 grand. And then when we realised that's a bit of a big ask, especially during lockdown, the pandemic happened, and we were still, planning everything through then. Things progressed, more people came on board. Kirsten Jones, who plays the midwife, she gave us quite a lot of really great advice and suggested that with our budget that we've got, we may as well, make a Swedish version of a bigger story. And then we got Clan Steffan Castle, the location, from a lovely lady called Marion Evans. And so once we realised we've got a whole castle to film our shoot, things then started to become a lot more possible. So we set off planning to shoot at Clan Steffan. I think before that we were thinking about Margam Park, and we had a week of really awful weather in 2021. There was just no way I was going to take a film crew into a rain, a thunderstorm to film anything. So we got put off then. We regrouped, we replanned. We came to early September of last year, and we were rained off again. This time more thunder and lightning, perfect weather for a horror film, not great for like a medieval fantasy. One of the main things that happened when we had to reschedule was we had to think about the tides, because we wanted to film horses on the beach. We had to make sure that the tides were out. So rescheduling meant looking again at the tide times, which flipped the whole schedule AM, PM, which actually became a bit of a more logical way to go about it. There were quite a lot of makeup and costume changes for all of the actors, And it just seemed that towards the last day, the possible day that we could shoot, the 28th of September, we had a window of opportunity for weather, and we thought, I'm not going to get rained off again. We're just going to go for it. And we had perfect, beautiful weather, and it was a bit chilly. We did get rained on a little bit in the afternoon, but then we were blessed with a double rainbow. I think we saw a photo of a rainbow at the end of the behind-the-scenes film. Dawson's property have been massively helpful. They gave us funding. They gave us a fantastic social media team. Kate Phillips, she's here tonight. Naomi Webborn. They've helped us build an audience. They've helped us build a following on social media. And it's gained momentum. It's taken us a while, but it's kind of worth it. And it feels like every time something didn't work out, there seemed to be a good reason for it. By the time we'd get to plan the next thing, there was someone else came on board, another sponsor, more help, and it all seemed to be a bit like divine timing. So when we got to September the 28th and we went for it, it was just, everything just fell into place beautifully. And here we are tonight with the finished product. So that's pretty much how we came about. Yes, I'm English. I'm interested in the Welsh language because it's kind of been suppressed for quite a few decades, quite a long time. And the stories of the Mabinogion haven't been produced. And I was wondering why. Why there's a whole wealth of fantastic stories with the Mabinogion that's nothing's been made. So I think these stories are crying out to be brought to the screen. So, ambitious as I am, I'm thinking, hey, Wales, come on, let's see, there's lots of rich material to be produced here.
You also filmed, in Steffan Castle as well, isn't it?
That's right,
How
yes.
How grateful as well are you of the wonderful cast you've got, while shooting this film?
Well, they're all Welsh speakers, which is brilliant. Boyd did speak Welsh in the film, as you saw, very well. Rhys, he's Welsh speaker. He's been interested in the Mabinogion, and particularly this story, in particular the character of Pwy, which I think you should ask Rhys about.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, so o'n I sôn Rhys, o'n I siarad Sarah gynnau, ti'n da, ti wedi bod yn ysu I gael wneud, actor, cymeriad yma ers hen dro erbyn hyn, ers yn groten ifanc iawn, ydy fe?
Ie, wir. Fi'n credu bod, y cymeriad, a hefyd y stori, fel mae Sarah wedi, like Sarah said, these stories are incredible. They're part of my upbringing when I was young. They're part of the sort of stories we shared, and they've obviously been part of Welsh life for 1,000+ years, and the chance to be able to depict one of the characters and the chance to tell one of those stories was irresistible.
Great. Sarah, you also asked me before we started as well to ask about the cockle-pickers.
That's right.
Whilst you were shooting and taking it?
On the beach at Clan Steffan, apparently every Wednesday there's a team of cockle-pickers go down to the beach to pick cockles, and I wasn't aware of this until the councillor, her name escapes me right now, but someone from the council phoned me up the day before the shoot to say, you do know that there's going to be a whole load of cockle-pickers with 4x4s on the beach. No! I almost died at that point. I had a heart attack because at the beginning of every major shoot that I've done, short film shoot, there's always one huge, big, fat problem that I just did not anticipate. And I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going to be on the beach negotiating with a whole load of people and driving 4x4s. I was worried about tyre tracks on the sand, all kinds of things that are just so not medieval. And it was a bit of a worry. So, like any director, I was resourceful, and I decided to go onto social media and put a shout out to people at Clan Steffan in their groups to say, hey, does anyone know these cockle-pickers? please tell them to stay down that end of the beach, give us some space, which I thought was quite successful because, you know, I was reaching a whole audience, a local audience, so someone must know the cockle-pickers. But luckily, the council phoned me back with the huge relief with the news that by a freak chance, the cockle fields were closed that week because they wanted the cockles to regenerate. They'd been a bit overpicked. What a relief. I was like, I don't have to worry about these people. So yes, that was, Rachel and I were joking about the cotton-picking cockle-pickers. But yes, I love them, but I'm glad they never showed up that day.
Right, so we are going to be doing this Q&A in 2 sections, so we'll be coming to you down the bottom first. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll come over with the microphone, and I'm sure the actors will be more than happy to answer. And then when everybody's asked the questions down here, I'll be coming upstairs if you've got any questions upstairs. So if you can, raise your hand if you have any questions, don't be afraid. We'll be sure you'll be more than happy to answer. When did the filming process start as well? You know, take us back to the first few days then. What were everybody like? Were they very excited, I'm taking?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Well, we only shot the thing in one day. We had one day to get everything. It was quite ambitious because I had quite a lot of scenes to pack in. In fact, there was a couple of scenes that we didn't have time for, which turned out to be not necessary to tell the story. Everyone was really ready to go. They'd been ready to go for a few months already. As I said before, we were rained off before. So there was a bit of time where the actors were waiting in the wings. So we managed to shoot the majority of it at Clan Steffan on that one day. It was a very long day. My day started at 4:30 in the morning and it finished the next morning at 1:30. That's when I got home. So I was completely shattered, as you can imagine. So we had to pick up with Wynne, who played Gwal, at another day, another night shoot with the fire scene. And we actually shot that on my birthday. And I couldn't think of a better way to spend my birthday than to finish filming.
Hi, Wynne Thomas, Radio 2 Coed. Incredible, you get all that done in one day, but is it sort of a unique thing that actors are in a kind of a place like that to do these scenes instead of a studio set?
Well, it's always nice. Sorry. It's always pleasant to work somewhere that's good. Out in the open, it's always lovely. That particular place, being an old castle, had a mood to it, an aura, which I think added to the ability to translate the parts. You think so, mate?
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah. The fewer hurdles you put in front of an actor, if you can put them in a place where they can immediately, you know, if you're setting something in a medieval fantasy, for instance, if you're putting us in a castle, surrounded by greenery, surrounded by horses, surrounded by incredible scenery, then yeah, it always helps the performance. The fewer hurdles you can put in front of an actor, the better, yeah.
It was also a case that the production crew, everyone involved was extremely kind, benevolent, helpful. Therefore, they created a mood of security. And that's another thing all actors need, is to feel secure. So the combination of the marvellous environment, the historical vibe, and the security augured well for the actors. And of course we had Sarah's magnificent direction, which knocked me off my feet.
Thank you both.
I've got a quick question for two of the stars who aren't here tonight, and that's the horses. And it looked to me like there might have been stunt doubles involved in that behind-the-scenes look afterwards. So how did that work, and how did you juggle which bits the actors were doing and which bits probably weren't safe for the actors to be doing?
I think I can speak for the horses. I love working with any animal. They say never work with animals or children. It's true of children who are always little brats. But all animals are beautiful to work with. And if you ever look at a film and there's an animal, be it a cat, a dog, or anything, particularly cats, they're just wonderful actors. You know, they really are, you know. They've got charisma, style, lack of pretension.
They will
everything
always
an
show you up.
They always do show you up.
Every time.
That's a fact.
Fact.
I'll pass this to Sarah now, who wants to say something about, very personal about each individual horse that she noticed.
Thank you, Boyd. Yes, we do have the stunt riders here tonight. They're Jay Mackerel, please hold your hand up, and Julie Dismay, fantastic, riding Udo and Henry. It was actually Rachel that found them. They were...
Udo found me. I think Jay found me. It was just so lucky. I wondered where I was going to get a horse from, let alone a white horse, and then Jay called me, so it was great.
I didn't know that. That's brilliant.
No, it was on me.
Well, Rachel, my fabulous producer, she bought quite a lot of the big ticket items through her contacts. The castle, the horses, Penderyn, Dawson's. Fantastic job as a producer. And me as the creative aspect of the partnership, extremely grateful to have Rachel, the business-minded person of the duo. And I think together we've pulled it off, haven't we, love? We've done this. So back to the horses. Yeah, we had the horses just for the afternoon. I can remember it was raining a little bit, so we did lose a bit of time. And we had to keep moving to where the sun was going down, so we needed the light, obviously, for the cameras. I think during that section, I sort of stood back a little bit as the director because I knew that there's just no point me getting in the way. Yeah, the horses, okay, they weren't like TV-trained horses, so they kind of had their own will, and they wanted to gallop when the other one was galloping. So I did find they were a little bit hard to control, but Jay and Julie managed to get the shots we needed, get the horses in position we needed. And then I thought it was hilarious, that final shot on the behind-the-scenes film that we just saw, when Henry, it was the brown horse that was the one that wanted to get a line in. He wanted to get his line in at the end, which was quite funny.
So is there any more questions for anyone? You could just, yeah, over here, right. Okay.
Hi there, Peter Lynn, big fan. Well done. You've got the proof of concept film. Where are you taking it now?
Good question. That's a very good question.
And how can we help?
How can we help? Well, we're hoping to meet people that are in the industry that want to see our pitch for the series. We've got a good package together. We've got a great concept for 2 seasons. We kind of, next thing is to find a great producer or a production company.
Have I got a hold?
Yeah, go on.
The one thing I would say is, from the beginning of making of Rhiannon, every time we had a plan of what we were going to do next, they didn't ever go to plan. So even now, if we say, well, ideally what we think would get us to the next stage, may not be. So if anybody has any ideas or any contacts or any thoughts, we're always happy to hear them.
I think also a part of the answer to that question is what people can do is give money. I mean, if there's anyone here who's like rich, well, there are rich people, you know, and if there's anyone here who's sort of stinking, foul, rich, and they could give like $250,000 or something, not really bother them, please go ahead and do it. Approach me if you like.
With a passion for Welsh culture.
Yes,
and,
yes. I mean, rich
storytelling.
people even. Yeah.
I'll put you on to my wife. Excellent.
I think that's the main thing, is to put the company in touch with people who are experts at production, producers basically, although they're a strange bunch of people, producers. So a nice producer, if you can find one, and money. It's a silly thing, you know, but that's the bottom line of the business that we're in, is money. You know, you need money to make the work of the quality it needs to be. You need money to advertise the work, because you can do the greatest piece of work that anybody's ever done. And if no one knows about it, it dies a death.
Yes.
You've referred to your ambition to delve deeper into the Mabinogion. What made you start with Rhiannon?
That's a good question. I think because Rhiannon, Poich, they are the first story of the first branch. I remember when I first read it, the thing that stuck out to me the most was the character of Rhiannon, the fact that she set out to change her own destiny, a woman making a decision about her own choice of husband. She went off to find him. She proposed to him. She's a total feminist, you know. She's completely her own woman. And but then the consequences of that choice, that infatuation, there brings all kinds of other layers of meaning to that story, because she was blamed for the missing baby and set up by the midwife and the matron. I mean, you've got undercurrents of racism and sexism. There's all kind of isms in there that is, you know, juicy for exploring with dramatic themes. I think with Rhiannon, the essence of that story is her endurance. She was cast out for 7 years for a crime she didn't commit, but she didn't have much choice other than to endure that punishment, knowing that she's completely not guilty. You know, that kind of integrity in women happens every day. You know, that's why that story stands out. And that's why I made Rhiannon the protagonist and wanted to switch the focus to her side of things.
I can see the time going on as well. Is everyone finished on the
I'd like
down here?
to hear Bethan say
Well.
something. I'd like to ask someone for Bethan. Here we are. Come on.
What's the question?
Tell us about your character and how you felt about taking the lead of Rhiannon.
Okay. Hello. Shall I use this one?
Yeah,
it's going
use
to be
that one.
handier. Sorry. Hello. Hello, I'm Bethan. I think I was definitely excited about playing the character because, as Sarah said, she does make what turns out to not have been the world's best decision, but she did make a decision and follow something. She pursued him, which I like to see in a medieval woman, following the man. Well, you know, arranging it so it looked like he was following her, but we know who was in control. So I definitely enjoyed that. I felt that it was interesting to see how much she had to suffer for one wrong, naive choice made at such a young age. And she really did have to suffer. But even then, it almost felt like a decision that I'm gonna do this with my head held high. I'm gonna do this with poise. So it was interesting to see her mature throughout that story. Yeah.
And you played it brilliantly, Bethan. You were the perfect choice.
Oh, thanks.
I think you've looked fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Great. So, are there any questions upstairs want to be asked? Any questions? If you could...
No.
No?
No.
None at all?
No.
Okay. Any more downstairs? Oh, one over there. Yeah, I'll go to this woman over here and then I'll come back to you.
Thank you. You've mentioned... Oh, that's loud. You've mentioned maybe taking other stories from the Mabinogion. Do you think you'd make such a change to those stories? So with the first branch, you've taken a story told from Pwyll and made it about Rhiannon. Do you think you would do that again and twist the stories to flip the perception?
Yes and no. I think essentially the authenticity and the integrity of the stories must remain. I wouldn't be very happy if things were kind of made up. you know, to fit some kind of dramatic structure. But then again, some of the stories, the way they were written down in the Middle Ages and the way that they're presented to us today, they're kind of weird story structures that don't always translate so well to, you know, like a screenplay. Because today, like TV and film audiences, they're very sophisticated, and there is a certain structure with a film script that has to make sense. So I think what I'd like to do is bring out the story, but also tell the story between the lines. So yeah, there would be some flip scripting going on between who's the protagonist and who's not the protagonist. But essentially, I want to keep it as, you know, as it was intended, and not to stray too far from the path.
Thank you. Bethan, I wanted to ask you, you look really good on the horse.
Oh, thank you.
So, by the look on your face, you're not an experienced horsewoman.
No. I mean, when I was younger, I had a couple of lessons, but then my dad says, this is costing too much money, so we stopped. But I had a wonderful time, because this has been so long in the making, so about a year before, we'd had a day where we'd met, we'd gone on the horse to see how we found it, and Sarah decided, yes, we will be needing actual riders to ride the horses, thank you. But it was so much fun. But yeah, I'm not, I'd love to be, but I'm not as yet an experienced horsewoman.
Thank you.
So is that everyone there? I think that's everything. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to just say thank you to everyone that has come here tonight, and we'd really love to do this again somewhere else in Wales and bring the Rhiannon story to another audience. And thank you to Mabinogion and the Pontardawe Arts Centre for this evening. This has been fantastic. It's been such a great premiere. We're really grateful. And yes, thank you to our sponsors, Penderyn, Dawson's, DWJ, Wealth Management, everyone, the crowdfunders, the private investors, everyone that supported us and kept faith with us. Yes, I know we took such a long time to actually bring it to the screen, but here we are tonight, and thank you.
Ie, grêt. Hefyd, gai atodi hefyd. Diolch yn fawr iawn I Ganolfan Celfyddydau Pontardawe am noson gwbl ffantastig heno. Thank you to Pontardawe Arts Centre for the great evening we've had here. Thank you and great llongyfarchiadau for the amazing work you've done, and let's hope we'll see it again on our screens. And yeah, thank you for you. Diolch yn fawr iawn am eich cymeradwyon a'ch ymroddiad I fewn i'r noswaith gwbl ffantastig yma heno. Mae wedi bod yn lyflu I weld chi gyd, a gobeithio'n wir welwn I chi'n fian. Hope we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr.